Tickets, really? What is this, a rock concert? It's like the longest rock concert ever. No drum solo. Greetings, hero. It is I, your friendly neighborhood rabbi, welcoming you to day 5 of the 31-day Jewish Holidays in the Fall Learning Challenge. And today I wanted to talk about something a little different. It's not the ritual aspects or the Jewish traditions or Jewish law, about a more recent Jewish tradition that you may run into as you're starting to plan your high holiday experience, especially if you want to go to a synagogue for services. And that is tickets. Many synagogues in America will ask that you get tickets in advance of attending the high holy day services, especially the services of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And you'll be like, tickets, what? It gets better. I'll venture to say that in most of those synagogues, the tickets will be presented as costing money. This is a religious service. Why do I need to pay to pray? That's not right. And on many levels, I agree with you 100%. Praying is free. Belonging to the Jewish people or the Jewish family is not for sale. However, for many, many years now, synagogues throughout America have adopted the practice of selling tickets to their high holy day services. Before you get all ticked off or say that this is super mercenary or overly commercial, let me explain to you why this is, why it's actually in some ways a good thing, and most importantly, if buying tickets is not in your budget or in your goals, that shouldn't be a barrier to you celebrating these holidays with a community, if that's what you want to do. So for about the last 100 years or so, give or take, the majority of Jewish congregations in America have financed their operations and supported their holy work, their charitable work, their educational work, and the staff and the venues that it takes to do all that stuff through the collection of membership dues. Some religious organizations rely entirely on voluntary donations. Some churches in America operate a tithing system where you give a certain percentage of your income to the church every year. I actually got that from us, from this biblical notion going back to the Torah of giving a percentage of your harvest over to the priests for temple service and sacrifices and things like that. But all that is to say that the operations of religious institutions cost money. And whether it's coming from one big donor every year or it's more democratically spread across all the membership in a kind of dues structure, that's how synagogues operate. Although there's been a lot of discussion lately about more and more synagogues moving to that kind of voluntary donation model. Not really relevant to what we're talking about here. The main idea is that people who frequent and belong to a particular synagogue support that synagogue through financial donations. And that level of expected support can be moderated according to somebody's means. Every synagogue that I know of, if the dues that everybody's paying isn't something that you can afford, they'll talk to you about it. And nobody is barred entry from holy service or praying because of money. But the other factor at play here is that Jews, like other religions I've heard of, many of us only go to services a couple of days a year. Some Christians have Christmas and Easter, that's their thing. For us, it's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Only our two things are like 10 days apart. If you don't go to services any other time during the year, you are there on these two holidays, which means the number of people in the room is much greater, which takes greater facilities, which takes greater staff. Somebody's got to be ready with a plunger. And also during these holidays, many synagogues will take steps to have a heightened presence of security guards. Not to mention, these services are longer and more elaborate and more ornate and may have more professionals involved, rabbis, cantors, choir leaders. It's a production, and it's a production on a grand scale that most synagogues don't see during the rest of the year. Now, for people who are already members of that synagogue and are supporting it on a regular basis, those tickets are provided to make sure that those regular contributors have a seat. This is primarily a crowd control thing. For people who aren't members of the synagogue but still like going to that synagogue for those holidays, having a cost for tickets represents a kind of price rationing of the seats that remain, and also a nice way for people who don't support the synagogue throughout the year to support the synagogue during that most expensive time to operate. Long story short, tickets are sold in synagogues basically to plan that there's enough room for everybody who wants to be there, that people who support the synagogue throughout the year have a place to go go during the high holidays, and the people who only come during the high holidays have a way to support all the professionals and materials required to make those holidays a joyous celebration. That said, if it's important to you to go to a high holy day service, like on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, but you're resistant to the idea of supporting the institution that's creating the space for you, or it's just not in your budget, dude, I've been there, talk to them. Or just show up and see what happens. But it's probably better to talk to them ahead of time so that you know where you're going to go. You can just go in and pray and enjoy the service. I have heard stories of people decades in the past going to a synagogue, not having a ticket and not being allowed in, and that person went away feeling terrible and not feeling good about the synagogue either. I will say that any synagogue that I would go to does not have this kind of policy where they turn people away. And I'm willing to bet that any synagogue that you can find to pray in today would be happy to accommodate you if you need some consideration on the cost aspect of it. I know that this video has been a lot of inside baseball around a bit of an awkward topic, but Hero, it was important to me to share this with you so you understand the whys and the hows of all this stuff, because it is a piece of celebrating the holidays that we're talking about. And I feel like the more prepared you are to have these conversations with people, the easier it will be for you to integrate into a particular community to celebrate and mark these holidays with the rest of us. Hero, thank you for watching this video on this 5th day of our 31-day challenge. This is a controversial and sometimes awkward subject. If you have any questions about it at all or any thoughts, please feel free to light up the comment section. If you'd rather make your comments or ask your questions in private, feel free to send me an email or hit me up on Facebook Messenger, and I'd be happy to talk with you about this. But for right now, I'm just honored that we can have this kind of open discussion around a sensitive topic, and that you can have a better understanding of what it takes for a synagogue to put together services for these important and fun and introspective and dancey and fasty and rammy holidays. Until next time, Hero, peace.